I'm sympathetic that Sony, as a private company, was worried about liabilities and this and that and the other. I wish they'd spoken to me first. I would have told them, do not get into a pattern in which you're intimidated by these kinds of criminal attacks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining us now to talk about the threat that we face from the likes of North Korea and China and other cyber hackers and attackers is Richard H.L. Marshall, Chairman and CEO of Secure Exchange Technology Innovations, and also served as a cyber terror expert for the Department of Homeland Security. Hello, Richard.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you for being with us. I really appreciate it. The president said that that no other country was involved in this attack against Sony. We just had Gordon Chang on, who said that's very hard to believe and that the president has to know that's not true. Do you believe that North Korea is capable of acting alone on something like that?
Well, quite frankly, I think it's a height of arrogance for anyone to say that this system is so complicated that a country like North Korea can't do it. The technology is available, it's learnable. In all likelihood, they probably had some help from other countries. China, Russia, and Iran are ones that are being mentioned as well. But just to be dismissive of North Korea, saying that they don't have the technology to do this hacker activity, I think is the incorrect approach. I mean, after all, they are a nuclear power. They do have technological capability, and we shouldn't be so dismissive.
Right, and I don't think, maybe I misrepresented it. I don't think that's what Gordon was saying, but he did say that they certainly, have Chinese, cooperation, let's say. Not that they couldn't do it on their own, but let's talk about what they can do. I mean, Sony was saying, and it was written about how Sony got another threat, that if they showed the movies, if the movie went through, there'd be a 9/11 type attack. And I'm thinking, because I've been on this electric grid thing for years, I'm thinking, well, maybe they're not talking about boom, boom, 9/11 type attack. Maybe they were talking about hitting the banks next, or hitting some kind of electrical grid or other infrastructure. They're certainly capable of that. How vulnerable are we, and how likely is that eventuality, sir?
Well, our vulnerability for our supply chain network and for our critical infrastructure has been well known and well documented for a number of years. For example, way back in 1997, there was an exercise in which I was intimately involved. I helped set it up, Eligible Receiver 97. And it demonstrated to the President of the United States that a country, and you'll love this, the two countries that were the protagonists in this exercise were North Korea and Iran. And they were able to bring down, in a simulated exercise, the critical infrastructure of this country, particularly the electrical power grid. The electrical power grid has been demonstrated over and over again as our most vulnerable of our critical infrastructures.
And at the time, of course, that would be President Clinton. And I'm not putting the blame on him here, because
Clinton, yes.
nothing has been done, really. Or you tell me, has anything been done since Eligible Receiver 97 to upgrade?
Not to my satisfaction. And the problem is, there are a host of fingers you can point at if you need to. Number one, the critical infrastructure is owned by the private sector. The private sector is not willing to accept the fact that they're at risk, number one. Number two, they're not willing to expend the funds necessary to reduce that risk to an acceptable level. The government has been reluctant to provide the appropriate economic incentives, and then there's some political discussion that goes on. If the government gets involved and the government is trying to take control, and then you have that brouhaha, which is just a political thing instead of a technology thing. The biggest issue is a lack of commitment at the senior levels, both in the government and the private sector, to expend the resources necessary to protect the digital assets. They're always thinking it's going to happen to someone else, and then when it happens to them, they say, oh, woe is me. The solutions are not that difficult. Any computer security company in the United States will tell you, if you just used our product, the problem wouldn't have happened. Well, maybe that's true in certain circumstances. Maybe that's true in others. But one of the common things to think about is when you're protecting your own physical assets at home, you make sure the front doors are locked, the windows are closed.
Right.
But if you have high-value items in the house that are easily transportable, let's use jewels as an example.
You put them in a safety deposit box. I heard you say that earlier. Richard, we're out of time, sir, but thank you so much for your sobering expertise. Appreciate it. We're coming back, folks. Don't go away.